Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is just going wonderful. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I'm super excited to share with you a Christmas card. We're still celebrating Christmas in July. We are getting a good head start on our holiday card making. Today we're using pattern papers. We're using the collection from Photoplay called Santa Please Stop Here. This is the collection. Super fun. And the nice thing about this collection is there is a coordinating 12 by 12 dies paper. We're not going to do any stamping or coloring. We're going to let the dies paper do that for us. So I do have the coordinating dies. This is great for the dies paper. And it's also great if you want to use the stamp set. But we're going to skip the coloring because we're going to make a shutter card today. I've never made one, so I thought we would make it together. This is super neat. The shutter card opens and it kind of reveals a surprise right in the middle of that window. You kind of see it here. But there is a belly band too that you can create over the top. So we're going to make a shutter Christmas card. We're going to jump in and get started. So let's start by doing a little bit of die cutting with our dies paper. For the most part, I think we're going to trim out two Santas here. We're going to trim out a present. How about some peppermint candies? I love the Christmas spirit loading. We'll die cut that out. We're also going to die cut out some holly, some candy canes. And for my sentiment, we're going to use 'Tis the Season to Be Jolly. So, what I like to do is just trim away. I have all the images that I want to die cut out. And I separated my dies, so all we're going to do is line these up. They line up beautifully, just as you would a stamped image. I will tape these down. I'll run these through the die cutting machine, and in no time we have some colored in images for our card project. All of my Christmas elements are die cut. And they are bright and cheery. We're going to put these off to the side, and you'll notice that this one I did not die cut out. That's because this is going to be going behind the shutter window, so I didn't need to die cut that out, although you could if you'd like to. I want to put these off to the side, and we are going to take a look at our shutter card. There are this kit makes 3 A2 shutter cards. So everything is there for you, except for your pattern paper, of course. On the inside of our package, don't throw out your packaging because there are your instructions. There's step 1 through step 8 to create your card. To make the shutter card, you're going to need the base, which is a gatefold. You can see the score lines. This here is the belly band. This is the panel that you're going to create a window in, and then these are your shutter elements. So there's cut line details on here, which is nice. So you know exactly where to cut. So that's all it is to the shutter card. Not very difficult to make. And we are going to go ahead and take some pattern papers and trim them down so we can decorate the front of our card. The pattern papers that I'm going to be using today are from the Santa Please Stop Here. I have 2 of them. I'm going to tell you the names of them because your favorite craft store, or most of your favorite craft stores, will sell these papers individually. And this is Frosty Fun. I love the stripes on here. And then we have All Wrapped Up. Okay, so I trimmed mine. These are actually 12 by 12 sheets. I just trimmed mine in half. What I'm going to do is create some panels for my card, and I'll give you the measurements, and then we can start doing some layering. I trimmed down my pattern paper, and we're going to adhere those to our elements, but before we do that, we're going to do a little bit more die cutting, and then we can jump in. This is the panel where we need to put a window in our shutter card. So to do that, I'm going to bring in a circle die. To create your window on this panel, you want to make sure that it's going to fit inside the shutter mechanism. So what I mean by that is, you see the arrow here, we're going to eventually trim this out, but this will be the center of your shutter. So if you want your window all the way to the top, that's not a good place, because this being the center here, this panel is going to overlap and you don't want that to happen. So you can use this as a guide on where to place your window. And I think that's as high as it can go basically, but I'm going to lower it just a little bit, about 1/2 of an inch from the top. And I think that's a good spot. I'm going to use some tape, and I'm going to tape this down, and I'll run this through my die cut machine. And while we're die cutting, I'm going to bring in 2 pieces of white cardstock and my Photoplay's Nested Pennant Banners die set. I'm going to take these 2 dies. I like layers on my cards, and so I'm going to create a banner with each one of these cardstocks also. So I'll die cut out all 3 of these. My nested pennants are die cut out. We'll put these off to the side, and then I have a window in my panel here. Okay, so our die cutting is completely done. We're going to start with our card base and create our shutter mechanism. There's score lines here, so I'm just going to follow along the score lines, and I'm going to use my bone folder, and we'll just do a little bit of reinforcing here. We're going to open it back up. So my score lines are reinforced, 5 1/4 inches tall by 8 1/4 inches wide. Now I wanted a continuous pattern on the front and the back of my card, so that's why it's this long. But if you just wanted, if you wanted to leave your back blank, if you have a made by stamp, you want to leave this blank, then you could just create panels for the left and for the right. But I'm going to go for the full length of the card base. So I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to use my tape runner. We'll adhere this panel to the back and the sides, and then you can see the score line. What I'm going to do is fold them in, and then I'm going to reinforce these score lines. And we'll turn it. With the cardstock, it wants to open, so that's where our belly band's going to come in handy. So that's the back and the sides of our card. Okay, now I'm going to open it up, and then I have the same pattern paper we used on the front and the back. We're going to add some panels to the inside. Now these panels measure 1 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. So I would suggest glue or lots of tape to secure these on your panel. So these are secured. And then I have 2 strips of my polka dot paper. These are 3/4 inch strips by 5 inch strips. And I'm going to use my tape runner. We'll add some adhesive, and we're going to line these up right next to these panels. So these are going to be on the back of our inside of our card. Now if you wanted to do a full sheet, you could do that also. But I'm stretching my pattern paper. Okay, after we have this done, I'm going to take my Santa here. I may need to trim away a little bit. I'm going to make sure my Santa fits behind my window. And I think that's a good spot. So I need to trim away this side with my scissors. I just want to make sure my Santa fits behind the window, and then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to add some adhesive just behind my Santa. We're not using our window yet. And then I'm going to place my panel. I will tack down Santa. This panel is going to go right in the middle here, and so this just helps me perfectly place Santa so I know he's not going anywhere. It looks a little crooked, but this is going to cover it. So Santa is placed. These two panels of pattern paper are going to fit over here just inside the score line. Let me show you. They'll fit perfectly just inside the score line, and these measure 3.5 inches by 3.25 inches. So before we adhere those to these, I do want to cut along my cut line here. And I'll do the same with the second one. And then we can discard these. And they even say cut away, which is really nice. Rather than using my tape runner, I'm going to use glue because I want this pattern paper to be really secure to these. This is the mechanism that opens and closes, and I don't want any lifting that will affect the opening and closing of my shutter. So we're going to adhere this. Remember, we're adhering this pattern paper just inside that score line. And I'll do the same to this one. So both of our panels are done, and now we need to trim away that V from the back side. So now we have that V-shaped back. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to reinforce this score line here. So we'll just flip it over, and I'll use my bone folder. With my first banner, I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive. I'm using some score tape because I know it's going to be super strong and creating that shutter. I'm actually going to add score tape to both sides. Next, I'll remove the release paper off of that tape. Remember, we placed Santa about 1/2 inch from the top. So that's where I'm going with my banner piece. I'm going to lay this banner about 1/2 inch from the top. And then I'm going to fold this panel right over the top of it. Like so. And I will press down really good. I'll use my bone folder on the outside here. That way I know that tape is secured really well. So this is going to lift up like this. And it'll fold over, which makes it really nice. Okay, after we have this one done, we're going to work on our next one. So I'm going to remove the release paper here. And this one's going to face this, like this. But what you're going to do is, the point of this is going to go on the top. This point's going to go under this one, like this. I'll line it up, top to bottom, and I'll bring it all the way to that score line, not over the score line, and then I'll fold in this panel, like so. I'll reinforce that score line, and this is what it looks like. You can kind of see how it opens up right now. So after we have that done, you kind of can see the slide. Now if you open it all the way, it's going to pop up. So remember, this one goes over the bottom, this one goes under the top. Okay, and that will help keep it closed. Now what also is going to help keep it closed is this panel here. Okay, so what we're going to do before we adhere this, I'm going to flip this around to the back side, and then I'm going to add some more score tape at the very top. I want to add 2 strips. And then I'll add some tape at the very bottom. Okay, I'm not going to remove the release paper just yet because I want to decorate the front of this. I'm going to be using some candy and some holly. I love Christmas spirit loading, and I think I'm going to use a candy cane too. I don't want very much dimension on the inside of my card, so I'm just going to use my tape runner to adhere these elements. I think that's the right amount of Christmas spirit on the inside, and it's completely flat, which is nice. Now if you want, you could put a message up here, but if you want more room, I suggest maybe leaving these blank, and then you have extra room on the left and the right of your shutter. Okay, I'm going to flip my panel over. I'm going to remove the release paper off of my double-sided tape. Now we're going to tack this down right in the middle. Okay, there's no adhesive on the inside, and then we're going to tack it to the very top. On the very top. Now this is going to create a kind of an archway because of the mechanism, and that's okay. So your shutter doesn't close all the way, but when you open it up, you can see that kinetic motion and Santa pops out. I think that's so cute. That is so cute. And you know what? It's pretty flat for the most part. The only dimension that we have are from all the layers of paper. Okay, now that is the inside of our card. Let's go ahead and decorate the outside. We have our belly band here, and then there's a score line. We're going to just reinforce that score line there. And then we have our pennant banners. I'm going to take one of my pennant banners and I'm going to cut it right down the middle, and then I'm going to adhere it to the left and to the right of the front of my card. So we'll just trim this. Right down the middle. I'm going to leave this white, and then I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to place this to the left and right of that flap of our gatefold. So we have a pennant banner on top. I just think that's adorable. Okay, we are going to add all of the rest of our dies paper elements on the very front of this. We're going to add Santa here, and then I'm going to use some foam squares, and we'll pop up the presents. I put some foam squares behind my sentiment, and we'll go ahead and place that. I'm going to take my candy canes, and we're going to tuck these in Santa's bag. We'll add our holly. So we have a little bit of dimension. After our pennant is done, I'm going to take the belly band, and I'll take the card. I'm going to place the belly band in the card. You see the flap over here? I'm going to, you don't want the belly band to be too tight. You want to be able to slide it on and off. So you're going to add some adhesive. and you're going to close it up, but again, you don't want it too tight. Okay, you want to be able to slide it on and off. Okay, and then once we have this on here, I'm going to take my pennant banner and layer it right over this pennant banner by adding some adhesive. Or if you wanted to use a strong glue, you could use that too. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring in some red gems. And we're going to add some gems to our holly for some sparkle. And that finishes my card today. You can see, look at how, you can see how loose our belly band pops off. And then when you open it up, you have a nice Santa surprise. If you wanted to put a few gems in here, in fact, I think I will. I'm going to put a few gems on the inside. I don't think that's going to mess with the shutter mechanism. So now we have a little sparkle on the inside too. I just think that's super, super fun. You'd close it, you'd add your little belly band. You know where to line it up because you have that pennant banner behind it. And it's really not too bulky. But that is my card today. Thanks for joining me. I wish you a wonderful day. And we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.